want a garden so I can grow, and you can only go so far on your own.
So, hello there, I'm Maddy Harland from Permaculture magazine, and I am in County Wexford, which is a wonderful place to be, with Mary Reynolds. And I've just had the opportunity to walk around your garden and see all the plants and the life and admire the enormous size of your tadpoles. And just see the abundance and the beauty of the place, and see how an arable field has been transformed into this paradise of nature.
Yeah.
So I'm thrilled to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
I'm delighted you're here. Thanks, Maddy.
Hi, I'm Delvin Solkinson. I'm teacher and mentor with the Permaculture Association, also the Permaculture Institute, and more recently Permaculture Denmark. And I teach with the Pacific Rim College. And we have been on pilgrimage here in Ireland, going to some magical, beautiful places that people have been using for thousands of years to connect and vision and contemplate and admire and appreciate nature and themselves and each other. And one of my heroes in Ireland is Mary Reynolds, and I am amazed that we've had the opportunity to come here as part of our pilgrimage to connect with nature and encourage other people to do so, to have some discussions about nature and rewilding and what we can do, what we can each do to be better and take care of this beautiful place. Thank you so much for inviting us here, Mary.
Oh, I'm delighted you're here. Thank you. Hi, I'm Mary Reynolds, and I have the honour of having these people here with me today, Maddy and Delvin and Grace. It's really lovely to have them here. I'm not sure, I used to be a landscape designer, and now I write books and totter around my land, and I design, I guess what they are, I call them ARKs, Acts of Restorative Kindness, but they're really wildlife habitats and food gardens, and helping people understand that gardens of non-native plants are part of an old world, and we have to build a new one as quickly as possible. So that's what I do, and it's such a joy to be surrounded by these people today. I don't generally have people with me, so it's really nice to have you guys here.
Tell me a little bit about your garden, because it was ploughed arable land, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That had been cropped for
and sprayed
decades.
And fertilised. And
yeah, so it had all of that
Yeah.
industrial agriculture.
Yeah.
And so what did you first do, and more, perhaps even more important than what you did, how did you begin that conversation?
Yeah, well, first thing I did was I walked the boundaries of the land and got to know it, and told the land who I was, and how I was part of the family that had done this work and had, I suppose, looked at the land as just something to take from. And I was aware of that. There was a lot of kind of healing to be done, and so walked the boundaries of the land as often as I could, get over here because I didn't live here, and I had 2 small kids, so I was busy, and then I kind of left it alone to see what was going to happen, and my neighbour has horses, and he doesn't use ivermectin in his horses, so, and he doesn't have a lot of the chemicals that a lot of people would use in horses. So I asked him, could I bring the horses in? And so they grazed it down, and they put bacteria back in with their horse manure, It kind of helped build up some kind of a system here. And so that was the first step, and then I just watched, really, and I noticed that there was a really wet area in the centre, and it's a ghost pond, So I figured it was a ghost pond, like, you know, where there used to be ponds and farmers filled them in. So I kind of, when I eventually got planning permission to build a house, when the diggers were here doing the foundations and everything, I got them to dig out the ghost pond, and they dug out like very old steering wheels from like really old tractors and things, where I guess I don't know, maybe it'd be great grandfather would have filled it in or whatever, you know. So so there was a whole microbiome already there, just waiting, and I had divined where there was springs, so I knew to create the pond in those particular areas. Like, I should have gone the whole way across the field, but it was just going to cost too much, so I just did the bit I could, and I made sure I worked where the springs were, you know. And so so yeah, I have this wonderful pond. It's there now 4 years, I think. Yeah, and it's like, it's the heart of the place. Like, it's always got water in it. It does drop. You know, in a very hot, dry drought, it will drop, but never dries out. Like, it's always got water in it. So it's a wonderful focus for wildlife and for us. You know, we're always up there. It's a wonderful haven for bats in the evenings, and all sorts of dragonflies and damselflies, and all little footprints around the edges that I don't really recognise some of them. I know there's badgers and foxes, and but yeah, I mean, I still haven't seen any hedgehogs here, so but I'm sure they'll turn up any second now. So yeah.
And you planted trees?
Yes, I planted trees, and then the jays started planting trees for me, which is great.
They're better than us.
They're much better than us, and those trees are like they're
way better.
Way better. They come out of the ground so fast. Yeah, they're so happy. But I did plant a lot of willow cuttings to get a kind of a shelters, and you know, to build up the insect life and support. And I tried to, I looked around the area and see what I could kind of get from seed and things like that. But there was no things like I don't know if Persian buckthorn or alder buckthorn. There was none of them in the area, so I had to go and get them and bring them in. You know, so because I recognise that the more diversity of life there is here, the better. Now, this should be much better managed, but I can only do so much with my time. So I only have a small flowering meadow, and the rest is really turning into woodland, you know. And then I have lots of edges between hedgerows and bramble patches, but it's mostly going through woodland eventually, which is perfect.
Yeah. And that's a consideration, isn't it? It's like, it's all very well designing a garden, but if there's only one of you and you can't maintain it all, and you go to work and you look after kids, we have to be practical about what we create and what we can maintain. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. And I can't do much. Growing food takes my time.
Yes.
The rest is just, I just like pottering.
Yes.
Yeah. And every piece of land is different, so you know, like, I do online consultations for people, helping them with their own ARKs around the world.
And would you like to just very briefly say what an ARK is?
Sure. An ARK is what I call an active restorative kindness to the earth, and it's basically it's a restored ecosystem, and there's many different layers of maturity as you can manage in whatever space you have, really. And I say to people if you have any land under your care, to give half of it back, as much, you know, at least half back to nature, and restore the native plant ecosystems and layers of maturity, and then in the other half to grow your own food. And if you have more than enough land to grow your own food, then share that with people who don't have land to grow food, and build community around growing food. And then I just want people to learn how to share. You know, gardens are I came from the world of garden design and gardening, and I've come to realise that gardens they're colonial thinking, like, they're impositions of non-native plants. on a piece of land, and native plants are the foundation stone of all life on the planet, and we come in and we push away the native plants and replace them with things
that we can eat. Or
no, the pretty things. The eating things are fine because that's necessary. As long as you're going to grow food without chemicals and you do it sustainably and you're minding the soil. But it's the other thing where you're just growing plants because you think they're pretty and fashionable or whatever it is. And there's so much greenwashing in the industry that the damage that we're doing to nature is just unbelievable through the industry of gardening. And it just has to stop. Like, we have to let that world go. But it's people are entrenched, like they love their gardens and they really find it very difficult to let it go. But when I explain to them what they're doing, unknowingly most of the time, or what's happening to the insects and the other creatures because of what gardens are, it usually wakes people up to seeing it differently. And when they build an ark, like the joy that comes into their lives from seeing the amount of life that surrounds their home, as opposed to just a still life painting that really has there's no interconnection or relationship with the earth in those situations. That's literally just about equating tidiness with care and looking at the land like literally a still life painting, which is not allowed to change unless it's a change that you allow. And it's all about colour and form and texture, and it's like skin deep, like. And if you build an ark, it's like it's you're rooted into your land all of a sudden. Like, it's a totally different thing. Like, your land becomes sacred, important. It's deep. You're weaving yourself back into the role where we're supposed to be the spiders at the centre of this web of life. We have to reweave it all back together again. That's who we are, like guardians, like not gardeners, you know? That's the only reason we could possibly be here, is to be those people, to be that spider.
Absolutely, and it's an ancient symbol.
Yeah,
you know, in ancient mythology from many, many cultures, from the Americas, but also from esoteric and other teachings of the East as well. The whole concept of this weaving back into the essence of what we need to be.
We came from nature, we're part of nature, and we have this opportunity, this amazing opportunity right now to become better and to take care of the world that sustains us. And often through these practices of rewilding and allowing nature to come back, there's gifts and yields that we maybe didn't expect. I wonder, in your garden, in your experience here, like, what are some of the gifts and the yields that have come to you for doing this that maybe you weren't expecting?
So that by restoring, how would you go about saying it? Well, do you know the way when people go to a psychologist or they go to a therapist to try and heal themselves, and it's a very kind of a singular thing, whatever angle you're coming at it, but it's often quite a difficult thing to do, but if you form a relationship with a piece of land and you like, because we're just plants without roots, aren't we? But if you root yourself and you build that relationship, my understanding of it is that as that land is supported by you to heal, you're actually working on yourself. And so the benefits of what happens is that you restore your own true nature in alignment with the restoration of your land's true nature. And it's a really wonderful process. And, like, my land is still growing, and I can see that I'm getting better as the land grows. And when I mean better, I mean at peace. Like, I'm at peace, and I'm not as mad as I used to be, like.
I think when we are deeply committed to the land, I think it's really important to be kind to ourselves and not exhaust and overwork and get ourselves into a place where we think, oh my God, I haven't done this and I haven't done that, because there'll never be an end to the jobs.
No.
So it's just
no
better
end.
to be relaxed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm really excited about the possibilities of this work.
Mm.
And I know you're really driven by a vision for how the world could be. I wonder if you could share something about the world you'd like to see and the world that the work you're doing is leading towards.
Yeah, well, I don't have all the solutions, obviously. I have a little solution. And I think we're all being offered solutions which are not real. And to solutions, I mean solutions to the crisis that we're facing into, you know. Like all the myths in the world, like you guys know this, like they lead us to warn us that if we don't take care of this place, it becomes the wasteland, like, you know, and that's what we have, you know. We're almost, in many places of the world, that's where we are, you know. We're sitting in the wasteland now. And then society collapses in a direct relationship with the collapse of nature, like we can't, it's so obvious we can't survive without nature. And when nature is strong and healthy and diverse and you know, all the interconnections are there, society can work much better, and generally does, you know. I mean, there are kind of unusual circumstances sometimes, I suppose, but I think that all the solutions we're being offered are really industry supporting solutions, and that really the only option we have is for all of us to retract into very simple local living and to take as much land out of food production as possible in the old way of producing food, and, you know, as in industrially produce food, and to build communities around growing food, locally owned energy. You know, we have to get rid of the car culture, and I mean, we do, like, you know, and people always feel really threatened by that because they feel like there's some kind of threat to their freedom. But if we had a really shit hot public transport system that allowed people to go wherever they wanted, it would take so many. Like, I would just love not to be able to hear cars anymore. You know, I'd love to be able to hear silence again. Do you know, it's like we're all suffering from constant tinnitus of cars, like, you know, and it's just like, I just think there's so much joy to be had in rebuilding community, and at a local level we can fix so many things because all of the destruction is local to someone. So all the solutions are there local to whoever someone is, you know. I mean, I know who's polluting my rivers, so I need to tackle that, you know. And everything is connected, but we have to look at all the problems locally. And I know it's a very simple way of looking at it, but there is nothing else. Like, what else is there? Like,
maybe I'll ask a quick question. Yeah. Obviously, this is bioregional, so I'm going to try and make it a little bit more generalized. But can you give advice for how to select the plants to help a very compromised site become more natural? Like, how do you go about selecting the right natural plants? What do you look for in a plant when you bring it into your site? If someone was going from a barren piece of land, how do you bring back nature?
How do you restore nature in any patch of land? I guess the way you'd start would be to do nothing and really just get to know the land and see what it needs, you know, and not presume, you know, because human hubris is a serious issue, you know. But I would always start with the seed bank. Now, the seed bank has been compromised a lot in many parts of the world, I know. But generally the earth, like, there's 5,000 seeds in every square foot of soil. And, you know, they need about a 30th of a second's worth of light to be activated. And generally the earth will send up whatever seeds are needed to restore each particular patch of land, right? So that's, you kind of, understanding that she knows best. That's really important. Now, you know, I often hear people say, look, the earth will be fine if humans get wiped out, you know, the earth will be fine. But it's not the case anymore because of the non-native invasive plants that have been dragged around the world by gardening and, you know, people bringing food plants from different countries and things like that. But these plants have taken over ecosystems and they've wiped out the web of life altogether, you know, so it's not enough to say humans will be gone, the earth will be grand. Actually, we have a really important role to play in helping the land recover. Now we have to step in and take out the non-native invasive plants. We have to, because the communities collapse otherwise. Like maybe, you know, maybe there's a way of saying maybe it'll be grand, just let it all rebalance again. But there's so many examples of plants that have been brought into, say, America, and after 400 years, you know, only 4 insects have actually adapted to that plant in the States, as opposed to hundreds that would have been with it here. You know, we don't have time for that, so we actually have a lot of hard work to do. And so letting the land lead is the most important thing, and then watching the successional healing processes and then stepping in. And each patch is different, so I couldn't say what, but you get to know it and find out what's needed, you know. Yeah, that's it.
I have one more question, and maybe I'll pass the mic to Maddy, because I know we don't have too much time to chat, but we talked to you 5 years ago, and I'm curious, how has your thinking about all this stuff changed? What's new, what's emerged in your message and your understanding of how we can help and be good stewards of the land?
What has changed? I guess I understand more about how native provenance seed is very important, and just taking your time, even though we don't have much time. You still have to work with nature's time. I think I'm a little bit more hopeful than I was 5 years ago, which is kind of hard to imagine because I was really hopeless at a certain point. But I see so many people like yourselves, you know, that really want to do this work, and young people are really interested in it, really finding their way back into living in relationship with land again. So I think there's a lot of hope to be had in that. But otherwise, I don't know if I've changed much. I mean, you know, still saying the same stuff and hoping more people will listen. That's about it. So, yeah.
Beautiful. Love it. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. Yeah.
And if you had a fairy godmother,
If I had a fairy godmother.
and she was incredibly powerful,
Yeah.
and she could wave a magic wand, what would be your 3 wishes for the world?
For the world.
For the future.
The future. Well, you know Leah Foe, this wonderful activist called Leah Foe. She has the most amazing quote that I always come back to, is that the sign of a healthy economy is drinkable rivers. You know, so I'd really like to have drinkable rivers, clean water.
Yeah.
What were you going to say?
That's 1.
Yeah, okay.
You can have 3. She's very powerful.
Oh, really? Oh, wow. Okay. I would like... I'd really like to have donut economics replace the system that's there.
Right. So Kate Woolworth
Yeah.
enters
Yeah.
the stage.
Yeah, she's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, because planetary boundaries are kind of slightly important to hold within. So that would be really useful and helpful. And other than that, let's see.
Or it could be just your wildest dream.
Is that the abundance that my dad used to talk about in nature is restored. Yeah. And his was probably even depleted from his generation. But to have have our just selfishly, I would love to see Ireland look like Ireland again, and I mean that in terms of nature, and to actually, he used to talk about, butterflies blocking out the sun in their migratory patterns. Like, geez, if you see one now, we think it's great. There's one, but it's not. Shifting baseline syndrome is a big problem. So I would love to see the abundance brought back, and drink out of the rivers while we're at it. Yeah.
I always remember as a kid putting my sneakers outside because they were a bit wet from being in the damp sedge fields.
Yeah.
In Connemara, and in the morning I got up and a pipistrelle bat had was asleep from dawn onwards in the sneaker, because they were just so unbelievable. There were so many daddy long legs and crickets in the field, and it was so abundant that bats would come and sleep in your shoe if you left one outside.
Wow.
So that would be my dream, that that the whole planet once again murmurates with life.
Yes.
In all dimensions and all species.
Oh, fantastic.
Thank you, Mary.
You're so welcome.
It's been such a pleasure to meet you.
Yeah, you too, girl. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
It's great.
I want a garden so I can grow, and you can teach me